Hey everyone, welcome to second edition of RMG Live on Facebook. And I just let me turn off my watch because it's beeping. Um, I am Scott Gumbar. I am the Chief Growth Officer of Rooftop Marketing Group, based out of Newington, Connecticut, and we uh, service businesses all around the U.S. And with me is
I'm Johnny Argueta. As I mentioned before in our previous podcast, I work with the business owners to do development, coaching, and we also work in different personal aspects of their lives as we believe that character plays a big role in the success of any business person.
And together we've created Rooftop Marketing, and we're excited to also tell you that next Saturday, a week from tomorrow, we have our second home improvement business builder seminar in outside of Springfield, Mass. You can see the address there on the screen, 20 Highland Ave in Wilbraham, Mass. And Yanni, you want to read the Spanish version of the flyer there?
Sure, Scott. Tendremos nuestro siguiente seminario para contractores hispanos el siguiente sábado 22 de febrero en la ciudad de Springfield, Massachusetts. Estamos muy emocionados porque hemos visto cómo los contractores están creciendo y mejorando. So we are very excited about this coming event.
Yes, we are. I love to talk, Yanni, so it's natural for me, right? And I know you love to talk too. Um, but we do. You'll learn a lot there. You'll walk away having some more knowledge about how to run a business in Massachusetts and in general. So we hope that you can join us. We have quite a few people attending already, so you'll want to call or send us a message or email us about whether you can join us. Um, we are live on Facebook, if you're watching this, you probably know that already. So if you have any questions today, feel free to ask us on Facebook. Um, we'll answer them as best we can during our live podcast, our live Facebook, and if we can't answer it live, we will get back to you with the answer. I promise. And oh, hey Yanni, any updates in your business? Anything you want to share with us? I know it's been a pretty quiet winter as far as snow and ice is concerned in Connecticut. Anything you want to share?
Well, yeah, it's been a blessing if we can put it that way. We have phone calls every week, at least a couple of phone calls, and those phone calls have become conversions.
Nice.
They have become jobs. So we have kept busy up to this point. We haven't gone out to work whenever it rains or snows, but I mean, aside from that, we go out and do repairs, and it's been, like you said, a little bit slow, but we are busy to some extent.
Yeah, yeah. The weather's been slow, but you're not slow. You got business going on, which is good. You're in a seasonal type business and you're still getting work. That's an awesome thing. Um,
Absolutely.
the today's topic. Oh, I'm sorry. I do have some speaking engagements myself coming up. I do have one next month in March 16th. I think it's no March 19th. Sorry, it's that one is going to how to protect your business and yourself on social media. And then in April we will be doing one on phishing and how to protect your business against phishing attacks. Those are both going to be in the Meriden area. So you can, and I'll share more information as we get closer to that. And we have some other stuff we're working on for rooftop marketing as well, and we'll get to those details soon as they are secured. But today's topic is integrity in business, and I think it's a really, really important topic, and we're going to talk about that. This is the second episode of our RMG Live, and the first four episodes we've dedicated to our four guiding principles, which last week we talked about innovation. This week we're talking about integrity, and then we'll have excellence and creativity. We have one scheduled for next Friday, and then the following Friday we will be taking a break, and then the Friday after that we'll be back for the fourth one. Um, so Yanni, you want to open up the conversation on integrity?
Absolutely. And like you said, this is very important. The word integrity can be defined in many different ways, But today we're going to try to apply it specifically to contractors, to businesses, to business owners. How is integrity played out in the marketplace as it relates to relationships between consumers and contractors and so forth. And also, as you said, this is going to be a discussion. We don't pretend to know everything about the topic, but these discussions are very helpful. They help us learn and grow and do stuff in a better way. So I once heard that integrity is to think, speak, and act in the same way, especially when no one is watching you. So if we focus on this particular definition of integrity, then integrity has to do with our character, who we are as people. It has to do to the very core of our existence, who we are, how do we think, how do we act, are those in alignment, our thinking and our acting? Because if not, then we're going to have duplicity. We think one way and we act in a different way. So if we don't practice integrity in business, then, what we are, who we are is going to be reflected in the culture of our organization.
Right.
Our organizations, our employees, and everything else that we do, little by little, are going to start to reflect who we are. So integrity is basically part of our character. It's who we are. So if we don't practice integrity, then we are practicing dishonesty.
Right.
And that's why this topic is very important, because out there, unfortunately, we find a lot of that. As a contractor, I can tell you a whole bunch of stories of people that are selling one thing and doing another. And they're coming up with different stories or selling these made up stories to sell a product. And it's not true. So integrity is very important in business.
Agreed. Integrity is really important. And like you said, the definition is, the definition I have here is define it as what you do when nobody is watching. And that's important. I like to think that we know that somebody's always watching, right, Yanni?
Yep.
It may not be who you think it is, but somebody's always watching. And so I always, everything I do, I base it on the assumption that somebody is watching, even if, I'm in my office by myself right now. We're live, so people are watching, but I'm in my office by myself. I could say nobody's watching, but I always operate under the assumption that somebody is watching. And I always operate on the assumption that even if nobody is watching, the truth will always come out anyway. So if I pretend that, so I do some IT work, and if I say that, as a matter of fact, I just heard a story on the way back from our office about an IT firm that was charging a business between $10,000 and $12,000 a month for services that they weren't even really providing. So they said that all their computers were secured, and it turns out they brought in, so this business brought in a forensic expert, and they determined that I think it was 100 and something computers in the business were not protected with the right security software. And this business was charging them over $10,000 a month to protect them, and they weren't doing the job. So that to me is integrity. That says we're not doing our job, but we're going to continue to bill as we're going to continue to charge the customer as if we were doing our job. And that's really not a good way to operate. And those things come to light. So that I don't know how long they were doing it, but it came to light. Somebody said something's not right here. Let's look into this. And that's, so now the reputation of that business, we talked about reputation last week when we talked about innovation. Well, once again, we're talking about reputation. If you don't have your reputation at the end of the day, you don't have anything.
For this reason, Scott,
Yeah.
when we work with contractors, we always tell them the worst thing you can do as a contractor is to build your business with dishonest practices. Right. That's the worst thing you can do, because you start building something on a bad platform, on a bad foundation, with bad philosophies, with bad practices. And eventually, like you said, anything that is hidden in darkness is going to come out to the light.
Right.
and it can be really, really dangerous for the organization or for any type of business.
That's exactly right. It's not something that you want to happen to your business, because that will be the end of your business, in all honesty.
And nowadays, since we talked about innovation last week, I have seen really bad comments about companies in social media.
Hmm.
And this has to do with integrity sometimes. I want to mention something about integrity, because integrity doesn't mean that we're perfect.
Right.
Integrity is not perfection. But I believe that integrity is practiced when you do your best and most honest effort in whatever you're doing. You put your best and most honest effort into whatever you're doing. This is based on your knowledge. This is based on who you are. You're not trying to pretend. You're not trying to be someone you are not, or to know something that you don't know. So if I go out and I am asked what's the benefits of metal roofing, if I don't know it, then I'm gonna say I don't know. I don't know. I don't have to come up with a story. This is a very basic example, but you don't have to come up with a story. You don't have to start making up stories right there on the spot. You have to be honest. You don't know it. It doesn't mean you don't want to learn it. It doesn't mean you're not going to educate yourself later. But if you don't know it on the spot, just be honest.
And that's a really, really good point. Because we don't know everything. Nobody can know everything. It's important to say, if you don't know something, it's okay. We said it at the beginning of this episode. If you have a question, we'll do our best to answer it live, and if we can't, we'll get back to you with the answer. And I think that's really important, that in any business, that if you don't know the answer, you don't give wrong information. Just say you don't know the answer, and get back to the person who asked the question, or the business that asked the question, with the correct information when you have it. So that's really, really a good point. And you're right. I do see that a lot. I see a lot where people will pretend to know an answer and give wrong information, and that can be dangerous. That can be really dangerous. In the case of metal roofing, if you give the wrong information, you could really do some damage to a house. You can hurt someone, or worse. And so you don't want to give wrong information, because uh, you don't know the extent of the damage that can be caused by it. And again, your reputation is on the line. If you give wrong information, and then the right information is presented, you look like you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, another example I think of right now, about integrity being played out in the marketplace, especially in contractors, like contracts, written contracts, for instance. I know a few contractors, we don't want to mention anyone specifically, but they write what they are going to do, but they don't end up doing it.
Mm.
For instance, you write you're going to use this type of product, and you end up using a cheaper product, cheaper version of the product. And that's integrity played out right there.
Right.
um, you have to do what you said you are going to do. There is a very famous writer whose name is C.S. Lewis,
Hmm.
and he says that the way that we know that our line is crooked is because we have a clear concept of what a straight line is. And
Right.
and this is a beautiful illustration about integrity, because people out there are going to know that you're a crook if you are one. Eventually, like you said, Scott, it's gonna come out to the light. We have sold many jobs not because we are the cheapest contractor out there or the cheapest being. No, we have sold them because people have perceived that we are honest. We don't know everything. Like I said, we're not perfect. We're trying to do the right thing. But what we know and who we are is what they get. If we say we're going to do something, we'll do it. And if for some reason we make a mistake, we own the mistake, we face it, and we make it right. And that's how you practice integrity. It's not by being perfect, that everything is the best, I'm perfect in everything I do. No, I don't think such a thing exists. Like you said, nobody can be
Right.
perfect,
Nobody's perfect.
but we can practice integrity in the marketplace. It can be done.
Oh, absolutely can be done. Hey, I just want to remind, I know we have a few people watching. It's hard for us to see exactly who's watching. So if you have questions, feel free to ask those questions. Like I said, We will answer it best we can live, and if we can't get an answer to you live, we will get an answer to you after the fact. And also just say hi, just like the video, like the live podcast, share it out to your friends. You never know, we might be a blessing to someone else out there in your world. And really, at the end of the day, that's what we're here to do, to be a blessing to other business owners in whatever shape, way, or form we can be, and that's all we really hope to do at the end of the day. Um, but yeah, you made a good point about integrity just now, and another example is even what we do at Rooftop Marketing Group. Um, for a lot of people, you'll see through all over the internet, people talk about SEO, which we do extensively. Um, they'll call it magic. They'll call it, they call it all kinds of stuff. But what we do, we're doing this now live, and I blog all the time, and we talk about it all the time. We have our seminars. We're going to be doing a series of webinars as well, and I will tell you exactly what we do and how we do it, because I want to be transparent, and I believe that in business, transparency, which ties to integrity, because now you can hold me accountable to what I'm doing. You say, well, Scott, you said you were going to do A, B, and C, but you only did A and B. Where's C? So uh, that's why we do that's how we do things and why we do it, because we want you to say, we want you to know what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how it's benefiting you. And we talked about this earlier today, Yanni. If we don't try something new with a client unless we know that it works, and we're going to try it with us first, and if it works, great. Now we go to our clients and say, okay, here's what we're going to try, here's why we think we should try it, here's the results we've gotten. We don't keep anything a secret. We tell you everything exactly the way it is. Our contracts, we review the contract, we sit down with you and review every piece of that contract with you. And then we even tell you, hey, if you want to back out at any point, just let us know. So there's nothing hidden from you. The the method that we use is right up front. Everything is transparent, and that's the way really business should operate. It should be that level of integrity where you're holding the business owner accountable for what they said they were going to do.
Yeah, can you think of any more examples of integrity being played out um, in the marketplace, especially in contractors? And
Yeah.
I'm gonna come up with another one. I believe that even being insured in the state of
Oh yeah.
Connecticut is part of your integrity.
Hmm.
By law, we have to have insurance, and in terms of workers' compensation, my personal view is that the most important reason for us contractors to have workers' compensation is people, not because it is a requirement of the state or a requirement to pull a permit. We have to remember that at the end of the day, we are working with people. And if someone gets hurt, we that person has to go to the hospital and has to be seen, has to be treated um, with dignity because it is a person. It is a human being that has the greatest of value. And having a workers' compensation thing is part of our integrity. Having disability, having a license so that we operate legally, we're doing things right. Pulling a permit to do a job, we're doing things right when we pull a permit. When we close a permit, we're doing things right. We are practicing integrity.
Right.
When we give out a contract, like you said, a written contract, we comply with our terms. Whatever we say we are going to do, we will. We're not going to cut corners. And then in these, we can ask the question, who is the beneficiary of integrity when it's practiced? And at the end of the day, I believe that the person who practices integrity is the person that gets the most benefits out of it. If you think about it, mental health, peace of mind, you go to bed and you don't have to worry about being found out.
Right.
You don't have to worry about getting phone calls. You don't have to worry about your reputation being stained out there because you're doing something wrong. You're basically doing dishonest practices. So integrity plays a crucial role in the health of the individual, in this specific case being the individual, the business owner. And your organization is going to reflect your thinking, who you are.
This is true. It rolls downhill. Yeah, those are all good points. I like what you said about insurance because, I so I'm the social media guy of the group, and I spend a lot of time in local groups like Meriden groups, Newington groups on Facebook, and you'll see where they'll share, such and such business is door knocking and they don't have insurance and they're using deceptive practices, and in reality is you're not just hurting your business. So if I'm a power washer, and I'm using that as an example because there was an example of that last year in Meriden. So if I'm going door to door and knocking and saying I'm going to power wash your house, and here's what we charge, and maybe my house does need power washing, and then I don't do a good job, and then somebody gets hurt, and you find out that the homeowner finds out there's no insurance, because now if you don't have insurance, the homeowner's on the hook for that insurance, and you develop not only a bad reputation for your own business, now you develop a bad reputation for the entire industry, because now the homeowner is going to, the next time they need power washing, they're going to be very skeptical of another company that does power washing. And so you're not just harming yourself and your reputation, you're harming the business in general.
Yes.
And you're harming the community, because now people are going to be a little more skeptical going forward if you're not providing insurance. And like you said, it is about the people. So if an employee gets hurt and you don't have insurance, the employee, they may be stuck with medical bills and not being able to work. And there's just a lot of things that can go wrong if you're not doing the right thing, if you don't have insurance and you're not doing the right thing when you need to do it. So those are good points. For integrity means making sure that all the bases are covered. Yep.
And that's why we work with contractors, like on a one-on-one basis, basically to help them. And this is one of the points or the principles that we actually emphasize a lot. Integrity has to be part of your character. And I know we all have different upbringings. We all come from different cultures, sometimes different parts of the country, and so forth.
Mhm.
And as we grow, we develop paradigms, patterns of thinking, and we are who we are. But that doesn't necessarily means that we have to stay that way, especially when you are going to provide services to homeowners openly. People from different places, from different towns and cities are going to reach out to your business requesting your services. And this is very key in this. They are going to pay you for a professional service. It's not free. They are hiring you, they are making an investment, and they are trusting you with their homes for you to improve it. That's why it is called home improvement. So you go to a house to improve it. You go to a house to make it look beautiful, to make it look better, but you are getting paid for it. So when you do your estimations, you have to make sure you charge right. So you don't have to be cutting corners at the end of the day.
Right.
You don't have to charge the highest amount, but just charge fairly. So you're making money, you're paying your people fairly, and you're providing a professional service.
Right.
Many times,
Yeah.
people in desperation want to sell jobs, and they underbid others,
Yeah.
but then they have to cut corners to make the numbers work. And that's why integrity is like you said, transparency. Just make your numbers right, make your calculations right, so that you don't have to be struggling at the end of the project and asking yourself, how am I going to make my profit out of this? Am I just wasting my time? And that's why you have to really think. You have to learn. I once heard that ignorance, you know, ignorance is not a stupidity. Ignorance is just that you don't know something. You haven't been taught about something.
Mm.
So if you don't know something, then educate yourself to do a better job next time. But if you have to take a loss, in my opinion, take a loss, learn from your mistake, move on, and try to do things better next time and do it right.
Right. Right. All good points. Again, we have a few people watching. If you have questions, feel free to just type it into the feed. We'll answer that question as best we can live, and if we can't, we will get back to you with an answer when we can. And if you could share it out, it'd be great. We're just trying to spread the word. We're trying to maybe reach your friend that or your family member that wants to start a business. Uh, those that are on the fence about starting a business. Maybe this will help them decide that they do want to start a business, or maybe the reverse of that is maybe they decide it's too much and they don't want to start a business. Not business, owning a business is not for everybody, and that's not meant to be mean. It's just the reality. Not everybody. It's a lot of work. There is a lot of work in owning a business. So we wouldn't want you to jump into something if it's going to be too much for you to handle. Because at the end of the day, your uh, your peace of mind is the most important part of your life. Um, but we are here to answer questions, and we're here talking about integrity in business and the importance of it. And I think, of the four principles that we have at Rooftop and you have at Yargetta, I think integrity might be the most important, in my opinion. Uh, I think without integrity, you're just not a good person. You're just not really somebody that people would want to work with.
And in the previous podcast, Scott, we were talking about innovation, and we touched on trust.
Hmm.
And integrity is gonna build trustworthiness in front of the consumers. People are looking for reliable people. They are looking for trustworthy people. They are looking for honest people. And when you think about integrity encompasses all those elements.
Yeah, it does.
Integrity, like you said, is a foundation for the other principles. Our character, who we are, the way we think, the way we act, the way we speak, they have to be all in alignment. Otherwise, we're going to be not only deceiving people, but deceiving ourselves.
Right. Right. You're deceiving yourself, and you mentioned it earlier. You can't rest easy at night knowing, unless you don't have a conscience, but you can't rest easy at night if you know you didn't do the right thing. So now you're losing sleep. Now you're stressed. Now you're maybe a little paranoid. Um, if you have a family or anything like that, then that's impacting your family life. That's impacting your social life. And it's at the end of the day, stress, I believe in my heart that stress is the leading cause of death in the country. It may not say that's what it is, but stress can contribute to poor health. And if you're stressed because you're not doing the right thing when you should be, it's going to contribute to your overall health. um, there's a lot of side effects of not having integrity in life and in business. A lot of side effects.
And like we have mentioned before, the worst thing you can do is to build your business on dishonest practices.
Right.
That can be very hurtful in the long run. It can bring a lot of headaches, and people can get really sick, like you said.
Right.
Stress, depression, and all those things are going to kick in eventually.
Right. Yeah, and if you let's say you do start one business and you don't use, uh, if you're not using your best, you're not using your best character in that business, even if that business closes up and you think, okay, well, I can start another business now and I'll do better this time. No, your reputation stays with you. People are going to remember. I worked with a gentleman. I use that term loosely. A gentleman a few years ago who was starting a networking group, kind of specialized, and I won't get in too deep into the details. Um, and he was collecting money from people to join this networking group. And I was working with him for a little while in the marketing aspect of this networking group. and I stumbled on a few things while working for him that he wasn't. He was really being dishonest, very dishonest with the money. He was being very dishonest with things that he was promising but didn't deliver on. And I discovered this and immediately cut ties with him because it was pretty bad. Um, he now has a reputation here. He was trying to do this in Connecticut. He has a reputation here in Connecticut that is really bad. And every once in a while, his name comes up somewhere, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, that guy. I remember that guy. He stole money from people, and then he took off. He's no longer in Connecticut. I'm not sure where he is, but the reputation followed him. And so if in certain circles his name comes up or the business name comes up, people remember that. They remember that more than they'll remember a business owner who always practices high level of integrity, um, because people remember negative more than they remember positive. Sad to say that is the case, but they do
That is
remember the negatives more than they do the positives. It goes back to reviewing businesses. When you review a business online, it is when I have a negative experience, not me personally, but when someone has a negative experience with a business, they are more likely to leave a negative review of that business than they are a positive review. I forget the numbers. I think it's if a negative if I have a negative experience, I'm going to tell up to 10 people. If I have a positive experience, I might tell one. Kind of same principle online. If I leave I'm more likely to, or most people are more likely to negatively review a business online than they are positively reviewing businesses online. There's more negative reviews out there than there is positive. So, I mean, and that says a lot about a business integrity when they have a bunch of positive reviews because people are taking the time out to go and review that business.
and going back to the integrity of being who you are. I have a story to share recently, actually, like 3 months ago, actually. We were doing a commercial job for a very nice guy, and we made a mistake. One of our guys clogged one of the drains by accident. And this is human error. Like I said before, integrity is not perfection.
Right.
We don't know everything, and we're not perfect. But when something happens, you have to take responsibility. And a lot of contractors fail on this because if they make a mistake, they just disappear. Many do that, and
Yeah.
sometimes, I mean, they just don't answer the phone, and they are not nowhere to be found. But going back to this story, we had this issue. It was a very nice office, and water got into this nice office,
Mm.
and it caused quite a bit of damage. But I went to the owner. He was away, and I responded really quick. We did the right thing. We hired a guy to clean, and then the client, he hired on his end a few people to take care of the stuff really quick, and everything was taken care of. Yeah, taken care of, and we ended up paying for everything. But at the end, when everything was all said and done, he came up to me and told me, "Johnny, things happen. I have been in business for 30 something years, and he said, look, things happen, but I like the way you handle it. This was human error. It happened, but you took responsibility and you basically took steps to make it right."
Hmm.
And then at the end, Scott, he ended up paying for some stuff out of his pocket. So he ended up basically splitting the the final bill in two, just because we were practicing integrity.
Right.
So it is rewarding. If you don't answer the phone, if you ignore the phone calls, you don't take responsibility um, when you have made a mistake for any reason. Things
Right.
are gonna even become worse.
Oh yeah. It's just because if you don't answer that phone call and deal with the issue, the person who's having the issue is going to look for alternative methods of dealing with that issue. So that might include, depending on what it is, it might include hiring your competitor. It might include reporting you to the proper authorities. It could include any number of things. So that's not a road you want to go down because at the end of the day, it's only going to compound the issue even more. So just a reminder, guys, I do see there's a few people watching coming in and out. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Share it out. We would really appreciate it if you shared and or liked the live stream, because it will help others as well, and it will help us. Let's be honest. We want to reach as many people as we can, because we want to talk about integrity. And integrity in business, integrity in life is important as well. Um, if for those of us that have families, how you carry yourself is the image your children are going to see, the image that your family is going to see. And if you're being dishonest and using less than honest practices, that's what your children are going to mirror. So there's that aspect of things too. We don't want to give that image to our family, to our children, and I don't know about you, Yanni, but I hope for one day for my children to maybe take over the business and carry on with it. Um, it'd be nice.
That is our hope. And going back to the foundation of all these principles being integrity, we have to do the right thing. We have to learn. And I have to be honest, when we're young, it's hard to get this concept. It's hard to practice it. But as we grow older and we begin families and we start dealing with more people, we develop relationships. We learn from other people.
Mhm.
I have met great people that have taught me how to live, basically. They have modeled integrity to me, and it has been a great blessing. I don't regret embracing this principle of integrity in my life, and I continue to spread it out there. I continue to advise people. Listen, you have to be honest. Just be honest.
Mhm.
If you're not ready to start a business, don't start.
Right.
That's one
No.
of the first tips we give to contractors, right, Scott? When we have
Right.
our seminars, you have to know what you are doing. You
Right.
have to be an expert, or have, if you are not, then your partner maybe is an expert, but you have to know what you are doing. You have to know what you're talking about in order to offer professional services, because you are going to charge for them.
Right. Right. I think that's important. A lot of people go into business thinking, hey, my boss tells me how to do this, this, and this, and I know how much they're charging, and I think I could do a better job than they do, and make a little more money for myself. Well, that's really not how it works at all. I can make my own schedule. No, your schedule is gonna be crazier. You're going to understand that there are hidden costs in business that you may not be aware of, and you're going to understand that your boss has probably been doing it longer than you have and understands how to do it the right way in without cutting corners, and how to deal with customers, and how to deal with any insurance issues, compliance issues, government issues, all of those things that you have to deal with in business. It's not just I can paint the walls better than my boss can. You might be able to. You might be more talented at the job, but running a business is not just doing the job. There's a saying that you want to work uh, on your business, not in your business, because at the end of the day, Yanni, your business is a roofing company, but you're not on the roof right now, are you? Because you understand that it's more than just putting down the roof or repairing the roof. You have to uh, you have to create proposals. You have to speak to clients. You have to make sure insurance and all the paperwork is in place. You have to make sure the invoices are done. And so it's more than just doing the job. You have to know how to run a business, and a lot of people are not prepared for that when they go into business. And I'll be honest, I wasn't prepared when I first started the IT business. I thought, hey, I can do this job and I can charge. I don't have to charge as much as some of these other companies charge. And then I realized as I went along that was a mistake. You learn. Um, I learned the hard way, and so we're trying to make sure that other potential business owners don't learn the hard way. That they understand, yeah, you might think you can charge very little for a job, but what is going to be missing from that? Are you going to be able to feed your family? Are you going to be able to pay the electric bill? Are you going to be able to pay the insurance companies? And that's where you run into problems, not understanding that aspect of a business.
And like I have mentioned before, ignorance doesn't mean that you are dumb. that you are incompetent. It means that you don't know something. But if you don't know something, it doesn't mean that you have to stay that way.
Right.
There are many resources out there available that can help us to get educated.
Oh yeah.
In the roofing industry, for example, like you mentioned, we have mentioned the metal roof, but also shingles are changing, and it is important. Products, underlayment products, ice and water shield, all those things keep changing. Manufacturers are improving those things. They are constantly working to improve their products so they last longer, they look better, and so forth. So it is our job as roofers to be to familiarize with these new products. And this is part of the innovation things. Things are changing, and we have to learn, we have to adapt to change if we want to be successful. But at the same time, we have to educate ourselves so that we know what we're talking about and we know what we are installing.
Yeah, continuous education in any business. If you're running a business, you have to continually educate yourself. You know, tax laws, and that's not to say you're going to do your own taxes, but you should still have some understanding. Insurance rules, state laws, and so all those things you have to have at least some level of understanding. I part of what my IT business does is healthcare compliance, so HIPAA, and I walked into a practice. Again, I won't get into too much detail, but the owner of the practice told me he doesn't know where they stand with HIPAA. He doesn't know. He has a compliance officer in the practice that takes care of everything. All he knows is he had to watch a video on OSHA the other day, which isn't HIPAA. It's another requirement, and I'm sure Yanni, you're very familiar with OSHA, but
That's right.
um, so it's another requirement if you own a business and you have employees. You if you don't have at least some idea, yes, somebody in your business can be the expert at that subject matter, but you should still have some idea that this exists and where you stand with it. And so continuous education is a huge part of being a business owner, and it helps you to keep that level of integrity, because now when somebody says, hey, Yanni, can you tell me about OSHA? Or hey, Doctor So and So, can you tell me about your HIPAA compliance program? That they now can speak intelligently to it, and they can say, I might not have the specifics. I can get back to you with that, but I know we have a plan in place. Um, and that's integrity. That's really what it is. Not You're not lying. You're not covering anything up. You're being transparent. You don't know all the details, but you do know that it exists. You do know that you need to continuously educate yourself, which is, again, that goes back to, if you're a business owner, if you want to be a business owner, you have to understand. If I showed you someday all of the different documents and books and PDFs and all kinds of stuff that I save to go back to later for resources, your head would probably pop. I don't know. There's a lot of information, and it changes all the time in every business. It doesn't have to be a high-tech business. It doesn't have to be a digital business. Every business, as you said, metal roofing, new types of shingles, insurance rules are going to change. OSHA rules are going to change. Everything changes all the time.
And something else that is changing is building codes in the state of Connecticut.
Yeah.
Recently, even some building codes for roofing changed, and this has to do with underlayment, which is basically the paper that you put on the roof deck before installing the shingles.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, if a house has a roof deck that is still done with tone and groove boards, you have to put ice and water shield on the entire roof deck. And this is by state code. It's not your decision or your choice. The code
Yeah.
of the state of Connecticut is telling you as a roofer to put ice and water shield on the entire roof deck. And what you do as a roofing contractor is you charge accordingly. You charge a little more because you're gonna use more ice and water shield, and then you just do it. Another thing the code is calling for is to put tape on plywood joints. If the roof deck is not made with ton and groove, but with plywood, then you have to put ice and water shield at least 2 rows, equivalent to 6 feet. and then you tape all these seams of the plywood, and then you put your synthetic paper. Very basic stuff for roofers, but it's dictated by the state of Connecticut codes, and you have to follow the rules, and this goes down again to integrity, to doing the right thing. And again, if you don't know it, then now you know it. Find out what the newest building codes are, get familiarized with them, and just put them into practice.
Right. So that raises an interesting question then. Have you ever had to turn down a client because they kind of insisted that you take shortcuts that you knew were not ethical, that didn't were kind of dishonest, and they said, maybe we could shave off $1,000 if we don't do this and that. Have you ever had to turn away a client because of something like that?
It has happened a couple of times, um, and not only because of the integrity stuff, but also with we have the other principle that is excellence,
Hmm.
uh, quality. Basically, people want to do things in a very cheap way,
Hmm.
and some people say that don't worry about the permit. But the thing is that we are a licensed contractor, we are an insured contractor, and like you said before, our reputation is at stake. We take pride in everything we do, and we like to do things right using the best products available. I'm not saying the most expensive ones, but you can use conventional products that are very efficient, very good, long-lasting products. And some people, they just, they offer you cash money, but at the end of the day, the cost of the materials is the same. Whether they pay cash or with a check, you are going to pay the same amount of money for your labor, for the permit, for the dumpster, and for the materials. So it doesn't make a big difference to get cash. I mean, if they want to pay the full price in cash, is a different story. But they try to offer you cash so that you charge less. But in our case, we don't like to take that route. We like to do things right. We offer a good warranty with our installation, and we stand behind our work. If anything goes wrong, like I said, we're not perfect. We try to do the right thing the first time, but if something happens, we go back and fix it.
So, and that's to kind of spin off of that. If you do decide that you were going to work with someone who said, hey, let's skip this and that, and then you could charge me a little less, and you do go ahead and do that, the problem that you will face is now because, as you said, excellence, the quality isn't there, they're not going to hesitate to say, oh, well, Yargetta Construction did it this way. This is their fault. They will not hesitate because they've already shown you they don't have that level of integrity. By saying, hey, can you take shortcuts and charge us a little less? They're already telling you they don't have the same level of integrity that you have. So at the end of the day, it's best to just walk away from that situation. And I ask because I've had to do the same thing. I've had to had to tell potential clients, I can't do this because it's not going to sit right with me that you're using less secure options in your network and on your computers, because when something bad does happen, it's going to reflect on me as well, and I don't want that to happen. And it's going to be the same across every business. If there's a grocery store not too far from where I live recently that was somebody shared images on Facebook of some meat they brought there, and let's just say it wasn't a um, good picture at all. It was really low quality meat. There were some issues with it. I'll just leave it at that. And so now this grocery store has this reputation online in a local Facebook group. They're now, because they probably took shortcuts, right? They probably either they didn't clear out the meat that was expired, they bought too much meat, or they bought it cheap from somewhere cheap. I don't know why it was like the way it was, but they didn't have the highest level of integrity, and instead, and this is a grocery store that charges more than most other grocery stores too. So they didn't they're not using the best integrity in this situation. They're not doing what's right for them as a business and for their customers. and they're going to lose customers because of it. And they're, who knows, at the end of the day, who knows what happens to that business. But it's not the right way to do things if you're compromising your integrity and the business's integrity, because it is going to reflect back at you at some point.
And you said the word reputation. We have mentioned it before in our
Mm.
discussion today. And integrity in relationship to reputation. You know, it takes a good while to build your reputation as a new
Yes.
business owner. It takes a while to get the word out there that you're starting a business, that you're offering roofing services. It takes a while. We work with Google reviews a lot, and we encourage our contractors to ask for reviews and to do a good job to get good reviews, because that's basically our online reputation in Google.
Right.
And a lot of consumers are always checking out 5 stars, and a lot of people don't want to settle for less. Yesterday, we were browsing, searching for a hoverboard for my daughter. She wants a hoverboard. And guess what is the first thing we did? We looked for the 5 star ratings for hoverboards. When you see 3 stars, is in my case is a turn down. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna even bother checking the reviews because it has a 3 star. But that's talking about reputation. Okay, you can build a good reputation, like you said, Scott. It will take you a while. It will take hard work and a lot of different things, but it is worth it at the end of the day. But if you're not careful, you can destroy that reputation in a blink of an eye.
Yes. One
And
short.
that can be more painful than building it up step by step.
It's you just brought another story to my mind. A painting contractor who, he's got the wraps on the trucks and everything, so everybody knows who he is. And he's driving. Um, it was in Connecticut. I don't know where he was driving, but he was driving somewhere. He cut somebody off. That person blew their horn and waved at them, and he proceeded to give them the one finger salute. If you know what I mean. That's not a high level of integrity. You made a mistake, own your mistake, apologize for it, and be done with it. You probably, in doing so, you probably actually you take a negative and make it a positive in that scenario. But now I've heard the story. I wasn't there. I didn't witness it, but I've heard the story. I know who the painter is. I know who the company is. I'm not even sure they're operating anymore. And I don't know that put them out of business. But at the same time, you're not you're not being a person of high integrity if this is your reaction, and you said it. We said it at the beginning. Integrity is what you do when you think nobody's looking. Well, in this case, if you could do this when people are looking, imagine what you do when nobody's looking. Um, Shine a light on it, and it's probably not very good looking. Um, but yeah, it does. You have to assume that somebody's always watching. Is really what it comes down to.
Absolutely. And sometimes with a roofing company, we get phone calls from homeowners, and they ask you, do you need me to be there for you to come and look at our roof? And when they ask you that, do you need me to be there? They want to trust you.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to come because they want to trust in you. So even in a conversation over the phone, some homeowners are able to tell if you are honest or not. And again, this goes back to character, to who you are, the way you carry yourself. Are you pretending to be somebody? And honestly, that's a very bad practice to pretend. You have to be. And that's what integrity is. You have to be who you are. You know what you know, and that's what you get.
Right.
That's who you are. And again, it doesn't mean you have to stay that way. But if you're not practicing integrity, if you're not very well acquainted with it, it would be a good start today, maybe, to start changing some things, to pause and just, you know, examine your life, examine the way you are doing things. How are you approaching business? How are you doing business out there? because your reputation is at stake.
Right. Yep. All the time. All the time. So we are winding down here. We have just over 5 minutes left. Johnny, I want to share again about our seminar. And
Coming up, yeah.
I accidentally removed the Spanish version of the flyer from our stream here, but I still have this one. So again, next Saturday, a week from tomorrow, February 22nd, near Springfield, Mass. It's 20 Highland Ave, Wilbraham, Massachusetts. The Home Improvement Business Owner Seminar 2020. It is our first one this year, but it is not our first one. We've done this before. We share a lot of tips about business development. We share a lot of tips about lead generation. I even talk about some Google secrets that not everybody knows about. Google, Johnny mentioned Google Guarantee a little while ago. That is one that not a lot of service businesses, and they do work with, I don't know, 30 or 40 different types of business now. Not a lot of businesses are aware that it exists, and it's a great, great tool to help you drive more business. But these are the types of things we're going to be sharing next Saturday, a week from tomorrow. 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. We actually will have lunch as well, and there'll be some light snacks throughout the day. Nothing too heavy because we don't want you to fall asleep on us. Um, so, we still have some slots available, so give us a call. I think the number's on there. You can visit our website. There's a big, I think it's an orange button on the page that says HIBS 2020. Just click on that. You can register through there. You could give us a call, and we'll get you squared away and confirmed. Yanni, you want to share anything about that?
Well, since we're getting close into ending this, I just want to read basically the last sentences of my notes, and this is concerning the benefits of integrity. I mean, at the end of the day, the person that benefits the most from the practice of integrity is the person who practices it.
That's a very good point.
People are gonna get benefits as well because you are going to do things right. You are going to offer professional services with integrity. But at the end of the day, the biggest reward is going to be yours. Your peace of mind, you're going to be healthy. It's going to help you to stay mentally healthy. And,
Yes.
and that doesn't have a price, in my opinion.
Yes, you are 100% right. Yes. I like that quote. It benefits you the most to be of high integrity at all times, not just when you think people are watching, but at all times. And it's important. It really is important to do that in business and in your personal life. It really is. And as I mess up everything right now, I'm trying to get it so that the flyer is bigger, but apparently that's not going to happen. That's all right. It really is important that we practice this at all times in business and in our personal lives, because you wear it like you wear your shirt. If you haven't washed your clothes in a while, we can see that. We can smell it too. I can smell it. We don't want that. We don't honestly, Rooftop Marketing Group, we don't want to work with businesses that practice less than honest practices, I guess. If they are the kind of business that says, yeah, we'll take cash, we'll cut a few corners, we'll take cash from you, that's great, we'll do that. We don't want to work with those businesses. We want to work with businesses that do have high integrity and want to continue to grow that way.
That is
Uh,
right.
and we believe it or not, I know some marketing companies don't do this, some do. We do pre-qualify you. So if you're not going to be a good fit for us for whatever reason, we're going to let you know that.
That's for
Yes.
sure.
Yep. Any closing thoughts, Mr. Argueta?
Well, uh, I just want to say that, integrity is to think, to speak, and act in the same way when no one is watching you. I know it's not easy to do, but it can be done. We can be honest. We can be good people. That doesn't mean we're perfect, but we can do our best.
Right. Right. And at the end of the day, don't you want to be the best that you can be? Be all that you can be. Yeah. be good people, do good for everybody, do good for those that don't even deserve good sometimes. We share all the time. As you can see, we will be back here next Friday, same time, same bat channel, same bat time. Um, and we're going to talk about one of the other four principles. We haven't decided which one yet, but there's only two left. We'll talk about that. And by the way, this series isn't going to end with the four principles. We're going to continue on from there. We just wanted to start with the four principles, just so you can get to know us and we can get to know you. So we do hope you'll join us next Friday at 1 o'clock here, and then next Saturday at 10 a.m. in Springfield, Mass. If you're in that area, we will be doing webinars based around the same topics, the same as the seminars. In the near future, we're working on the details of that. It will not be on Facebook. It'll be private, invite only. But those are all coming. We have a lot of good stuff coming. So make sure you come back, and we will see you again next week. I will upload this to everywhere I can upload it to. Yanni?
Well, yeah, we hope to see you next week.
Yeah, next week. You're gonna see a lot of us next week. Some of you will see a lot of us next week. All right.
All right. Have a good one, guys.